Hello, homies. Hello, friends. Hello, amigos. Welcome to another episode of your trusted, not dusty, easily entertained podcast. I am your pop culture Sherpa. I'm your host, Maddy McClain. It's so good to be sitting down here again, as always. And thank you for the feedback I've been getting. It's been super helpful, and I love that you guys are enjoying it and continues to truly make me so very happy to entertain you in any capacity at all. I am the youngest of four, so what I have learned from as a babe is to do just that, entertain. You know what I mean? I don't stray too far from that stereotype, but it's okay. Don't worry, I'm not oppressed by that stereotype. I'm very much not. So don't feel bad for me for too long or at all. And y'all are like, no, I was never feeling bad for you, bitch. That's okay too. I am in a mood today, but you know what? That usually makes for a better episode anyways. There's lots to talk about. We are back with another brand new season of The Bachelor. And I love it because I finally actually, and I think America actually is excited about and agrees with ABC's choice of a Bachelor this season. I feel like in the past, it's usually been like, no one asked for this, and then they give you that Bachelor or Bachelorette. And I think people tend to come around and are like, okay, it's actually a better season than I thought. But I mean, pretty much every lead, I feel like, gets eviscerated in some way, shape, or form. But I'm sorry, these, like, to get the best sound possible, and that's, like, very important, right, for a podcast, that's why you have to wear these silly looking headphones. Like, you can do it without them. And trust me, I've tried, but just for what I'm working with right now, the sound is so much better. But it's really difficult to like style one's hair or, well, that's a little bit giving me too much credit. It's just difficult to try and look your best with giant fucking headphones on. You know, it's not really my look. Right? But there are plenty of great looking gamers out there that can rock it, stop it, don't you knock it. Again, sometimes I don't know where these little like songs come from, but they just come from the heart. So if you're ever questioning me and wondering what I'm referencing, I'm usually not. I'm usually just singing from the heart. So I digress. Earlier this week, I experienced something kind of crazy, and there's a theory for it. It's called burnt toast theory. Now, before I tell you what that theory is, I will tell you about my experience. So I have, you know, as many people do, multiple choices when you leave your house and you go on a walk, usually, you know, and I typically go one way to walk my dog Mac, who is frequently in the background of these video podcasts. But that's not really the point. So I'm taking my dog on a walk, right? And I usually let him, this is probably like why I need to take him back to training, but I let him choose, you know, I let him choose the adventure of our walk. I'm like, you know what? They only have so much to look forward to, right? Like I am his whole life. So I don't want to disappoint him. And so I let him choose which way we go for our walks. And he decided, he just chose a way I wasn't down for. It was a little rainy. It was a little, I don't know. I don't remember exactly why I didn't want to go this way, but there was a distinct random thought I had, like, no, let's go the opposite way. So we take a different route, and this is about 10:30-ish in the morning. We take this walk, and a few hours later, really, whenever I check my phone later in the afternoon, I see that there was a psychopath in the city of Austin, Texas, who ran around with a machete and attacked this guy out of the blue randomly, does not know this guy, just came at him with a machete and viciously attacked him. The guy survived. He's okay. He was an 18-year-old kid that was attacked, and but obviously got some pretty severe, serious injuries. Terrible, crazy, crazy. And like Austin, Texas, I mean, it's getting more so this way, but it's not really like a place that you like see that kind of thing a lot. Like I've lived in LA. Okay, I've seen some crazy shit, but yeah, so that was scary. Well, turns out he was in the exact same place. We end up in the same area of this park on our walk that we would have walked by. And this went down at 10:35 a.m. that same day. And like it could have been me and my little doggy there instead. And I don't know. I've been punched by strangers twice in the head. I'm not making that up. Yeah. Once in LA, who would have thought? And then the second time, somebody thought that I was a different person. And I was on 6th Street in Austin, Texas, like in college. And somebody just like really pussy punched me in the back of the head. Like, who does that? And I turn around. They're like, oh, sorry, wrong person. And ran away. Yeah. So all to say, I have a very punchable face, I guess. I at least in the past, because we're now manifesting that shit to never happen again. So I just feel like I would have been an open target. And that was really scary and crazy to learn. Like the man upstairs was looking out for me that day, and probably looking out for Mac because he's so much more innocent than me. But I was scrolling along on TikTok and found a theory called burnt toast theory. Burnt toast theory is essentially based around the idea of you're getting ready, you're rushing, you're trying to rush out the door to go to work one morning, and you're making toast to take with you, but the toast burns. And so you have to take another extra 5 minutes but you're 5 minutes late, and that 5 minutes late puts you in traffic and you hit more traffic. Then you make your way to work, but it did cause you this delay in the rest of your work day or whatever. But in those 5 minutes, you miss a tragic car accident that could have been you, you know? So that's burnt toast theory, just reframing things in a more positive light of what's meant to be will be, and everything happens for a reason is really all of that. So not a new idea at all. It's just annoying, okay, that everything is being repackaged on TikTok with a different name. But Gen Z, I'm sorry, likes to think that they came up with it. And look, I'm a zillennial, okay? We've talked about this. I'm a cusp, a younger millennial, okay, who relates to Gen Z a lot. Gen Z isn't the only generation that thinks that they've come up with a lot of things themselves that have already existed. Like, we definitely, as millennials, have done that for sure. You know, I think it's just the cycle of life, baby. The odds are pretty high that when you grow up and you are the age of what the boomers are now, that Gen Z or whoever, Gen Alpha or whatever, younger generations will look at us and be like, what quacks? Like, what old hags? You know, that's definitely not the point of today's episode, but thank you for humoring me. Thanks for sticking around if you did. We have so much more to talk about this episode. We are, of course, going to cover all things Bachelor, the first episode, which is my personal favorite episode. This and the next one. You know, when there's a lot of bitches. There's still a lot of bitches in competition on The Bachelor and vice versa for Bachelorette, obviously, because there's just so much more drama, so much more little nuggets to find throughout the way these people interact. You know what I'm saying? It's just more interesting. And that's what we're here for. We're here for interesting. So we'll talk all about that and the jobs that are most likely to land you a role on The Bachelor or Bachelorette, and what jobs are most likely to have you win The Bachelorette. We'll talk about some more pop culture updates and news, things that you might be interested to know. The Oscar nominations have come out very recently as of Tuesday, January 23rd. And then we'll talk about the Vanderpump Rules spinoff that was announced I think a few weeks ago, but recently. Talk about that and the upcoming season and where the cast is at now as you prepare your mind, your body, your soul for the next season. Vanderpump Rules season 12, which is just the latest season post Scandal, is coming out next Tuesday, January 30th. So right around the corner. I remember that sounding like far, far, far away after the whole scandal last year in 2023. But like life tends to do, it came at you fast, right? So during the press tour for the upcoming new season, Bravo announced a new spinoff show coming this spring with a few familiar faces you might recognize: Jax Taylor, Brittany Cartwright, and Kristen Doute, along with new additions like Luke Broderick, who is Kristen Doute's boyfriend, Danny and Nia Bucco, Jesse and Michelle Lally, and Jason and Janet Caperna. Basically, the Valley, this is from their official press release on People. The Valley, like its predecessor, will follow a group of friends in Los Angeles, but the group will, quote, trade bottle service in West Hollywood for baby bottles in the Valley, all while they navigate bustling businesses, rocky relationships, and feisty friendships, per the official synopsis. Now, for me, it's funny because they're at least acknowledging something that I totally found to be true. The Valley, it's essentially where the Peter Pans of LA, that won't grow up, I'm a Peter Pan, throw in their fuckboy hats and settle down with their girlfriends or wives who have been begging for them to do that for the last 5 years or so, just planting little seeds like the Valley, let's go have kids in the Valley with a house. Because you can't, unless you're filthy rich, you can't really have a good size house with a yard. Like, what? Unheard of in LA, so that's why people go outside of the city limits, although technically I think it's part of LA. I mean, it is part of LA, but anyways, who cares about the technicalities? Because Bravo, whether unknowingly or knowingly, is bringing this into the mainstream sphere, the mainstream topic of conversation. But I find it interesting. I find it fascinating. Jax, Brittany, and Kristen, who are all going to be on the Valley, have previously been on Vanderpump, but they all got fired along with a few others. They did basically shook up the whole cast in 2020 from Vanderpump Rules. There was word of allegedly some sort of racist comments or old tweets resurfaced or, one of those things. And now they're back. My theory, with all of this is that these days cancel culture isn't dead. For sure, no. It's for sure still alive, but it's like it has a much quicker half-life, and that's about as chemical scientific as I'll get. Bravo hasn't yet announced an official date outside of the vague spring 2024 for the Valley, which, sounds like really like any construction project, right? They give you a vague time frame that usually falls later than, but have no fear. Because in the meantime, Vanderpump Rules Season 11 premieres on Tuesday, January 30th. And I'm so excited. So excited. If you're not a Bravo fan, if you don't watch Vanderpump, I guarantee you probably heard about Scandal that went down and pretty much wouldn't be stopped talking about for all of the year of 2023. But, and that's including myself, it's because if you're a Vanderpump fan or, been watching this shit go down, it's like the real life Ross and Rachel debacle controversy, except way more salacious, way more scandalous, and way more like, modern day reality TV, I suppose. But it gets people hyped like that kind of question does. Like, were they on a break question? This next season will pick up off from where we were left with Scandal. Too long didn't read it. TLDR of it all is a very public cheating scandal between two longtime partners and OG Vanderpump Rules, Ariana Madix and Tom Sandoval, who've lived together. They've been dating for 10 years. And Tom Sandoval, being the little scum-diddy-dum that he is, cheated on Ariana with a fellow castmate, Raquel Leviss, who was also besties with Tom's girlfriend, Ariana. So they cheated together. And like, that's reality TV. You see that stuff. Like, cheating and infidelity is not anything new, but I think what also made it just multiplied the magnitude of the scandal is the fact that we watched it play out like right in front of our eyes. We find out, I think it was like mid-ish season, towards the end of the season was when we find out in real time as the season is airing. And mind you, you know, they record this months and months ago, so we're watching the past. And then in real time, we hear that Tom Sandoval was cheating based on, you know, Ariana finding out while she's watching Tom perform in his bullshit cover band. So that was what was so extra wild about this, is we're truly seeing it go down in front of us, and just the audacity, the brazenness of their behavior when you look back and you're watching the show and they're like smirking kind of at each other here and there. And you can see it once you know, but you know, it's just, they're doing it right in front of Ariana's face too. And, pretty crazy. They hooked up at the home that Tom and Ariana shared. That was their first kiss. You know, they hooked up while Ariana was out of town for her like grandma's funeral, and her dog died, and her boyfriend and best friend are off doing what they're doing with each other. And then you see that they have Raquel and Tom have matching like Thunderbolt necklaces that they'd had during filming and shit. It's just that kind of thing. Crazy, just straight in front of your face. So, oh, and Raquel wants to go by Rachel again because that's the name she was born with. She's also now started her own podcast called Rachel Goes Rogue. And well, yeah, she really opened herself up to this one just for all of us to step right through. She already went rogue, right? Like, she had an affair with her best friend's boyfriend. So I think she's been pretty rogue. All to say, doesn't sound like she's learned too much. She says she wants to stay out of the limelight, and yet starts this podcast and went on Bethany Frankel's podcast. And despite all that, she's not going to be on this next season that we'll watch. I'm sure she was offered a hefty chunk of cash, but yep, she will not be there. But regardless, you know, I will most definitely be watching all of it. As of today, now Ariana is suing Tom, I think, to get out of their shared house. It's a mess. It just sounds terrible. But Ariana's doing fine. She was on Dancing with the Stars recently, made it pretty far to the finals. And now she is playing a role in Chicago, the musical, on Broadway. And that's like Tom's dream. So even better, you know, even better. The award season continues with the Oscars 2024 nominations being released not too long ago, this Tuesday, January 23rd. And while many of the nominations pretty much resemble that of the previous few from the Emmys and the Screen Actors Guild and what else we got? Critics' Choice Awards. The real talk of the talk of the town, if you will, is the snub category, aka the people that were left off of the nominations, namely being that of Barbie. Despite Barbie being the top grossing movie of the year, bringing in over $1 billion to the box office, Greta Gerwig, the director, and Margot Robbie were not nominated in the Best Director and Best Actress categories, respectively. But you know who was nominated? In true Mojo Dojo Casa House fashion, Ryan Gosling was nominated, though. Kin was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. There was some more representation in Margot Robbie got a shout out in a producing category, as she did also produce. And Greta Gerwig was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, but not like the big dogs of the Oscars, which is crazy to me. Also, adapted. What was Barbie adapted from, right? Like the physical doll? Because that story, we hadn't had the full story before. So that's also suspicious. But we stand a supportive king who totally saw the irony in the fact that the kin of the movie got the, biggest nod of the entire movie, which, I mean, do I need to spell it out, right? Like, I think we can all see the irony in that. Ryan Gosling following kind of the public losing their shit over it. And, they got plenty of reason to. He released a full statement and said, I am extremely honored to be nominated by my colleagues alongside such remarkable artists in a year of so many great films. And I never thought I'd be saying this, but I'm also incredibly honored and proud that it's for portraying a plastic doll named Ken. But there is no Ken without Barbie, and there is no Barbie movie without Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie, the two people most responsible for this history-making, globally celebrated film. No recognition would be possible for anyone on the film without their talent, grit, and genius. To say that I'm disappointed that they are not nominated in their respective categories would be an understatement. Against all odds, with nothing but a couple of soulless, scantily clad, and thankfully crotchless dolls, they made us laugh, they broke our hearts, they pushed the culture, and they made history. Their work should be recognized along with the other very deserving nominees. Having said that, I am so happy for America Ferrera and the other incredible artists who contributed their talents to making this such a groundbreaking film. Ryan Gosling, Barbie. He is, talk about media trained. That's an incredible response to it all. But also love that he pointed out that the dolls are in fact crotchless. I did find that funny too. Yeah, that's just some shit right there. Really. Like the other movies, yeah, they're all deserving, I'm sure. And there's reasons that I do not have as to why they chose the nominees as they did. But Oppenheimer, to nobody's surprise, led in terms of the sheer quantity of nominations that the movie received at 13, followed by Poor Things with, I believe, 11. I'm wrong. 11 nominations. I have yet to see Poor Things, but this is the movie that is about a feminist fantasy set in a steampunk world of mutants and male chauvinist pigs. That tells us so much without telling us anything, but I'm sure it's good. We got our girl Emma Stone, and we also have Mark Ruffalo. That is something that is on my list to go see, so I can do us all the favor. And a few other quick pop culture updates for you. Kim Kardashian is yet again in the hot seat. I say yet again just because I feel like the Kardashians are always in the proverbial hot seat. You know what I mean? Kim Kardashian recently announced on Instagram that she is now the face of Balenciaga as a Balenciaga ambassador. As if we're all supposed to forget about that crazy, messed up ad campaign that Balenciaga ran and everybody was up in arms, as they should be. It was gross. It was like they had a bunch of little kids holding up bears that were like teddy bears that were wearing BDSM stuff, like chains and whips. Rihanna whips and chains excite me. Yeah. So that's messed up. I guess they were hoping that everyone had short-term memory loss and forgot about that. But I mean, I guess that's also a valid thought given that we all have no attention span and the news cycle moves faster than anybody can keep up with. But that one's a little hard to forget. So if you're confused or wondering why people are mad at her now, the latest reason, that's why. So I got your back. Don't ever say I don't look out for you. And the other little piece of news that we found out recently is Trevor Noah's replacement. So Trevor Noah had announced earlier in late 2023 that he would no longer be hosting The Daily Show. And no one was really sure who would take his slot. We have Taylor Tomlinson, who is an incredible female comic who is taking the slot after that for a late Show. But it was just announced that Jon Stewart will be returning. So The Daily Show and Jon Stewart are back together again. And, I think that's what he's best at. So take that as you will, but that's the latest. The new season of The Bachelor with Joey Grazadeh, which I think is how you say it. Joey is so very cute. He was on Charity Lawson's season of The Bachelorette, and he was the runner-up. Yeah, for the first time in a while, Bachelor fans are excited about who they've chosen, and that's just exciting in and of itself, right? But he is a tennis coach, I suppose, or plays tennis himself. And so that is what they've chosen as the shtick, right? Like every leading person has a shtick that they really lean into for like the promo or for just throughout the season. Yeah, he's looking for his doubles partner. So we're excited for this. Apparently there are more contestants this year than there have been in the past, which is 32. So first of all, the drama in this opening scene, the first episode, it's a close-up of Joey, presumably at the end of the show, at the waiting to propose. And he's crying. And there's one rose left that's sitting there, and then he's walking away from it. And this is all while Billie Eilish's When the Party Is Over is playing. Wow. I think they're aiming for the Emmys here. Tricky of the producers. They're kind of, usually when they tease that kind of thing, it usually doesn't happen. But people have been wrong before. Reality Steve has been somewhat wrong before, but very rarely. So don't look up Reality Steve anything if you don't want it to be spoiled. And I usually don't. I'm not a big spoiler gal. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So don't worry. I will never spoil it for you. But, well, unless you haven't watched this episode, I think the spoiler was pretty clear. So spoiler alert was clear. Yeah, that's what I meant. So anyways, we know him as the tennis player from Hawaii, but really he's from Philadelphia and lived in Hawaii for a while. But they also lean real hard into the Hawaii. So we start with all of the entrances that come out of the limo. We've got everything from a voodoo doll from a girl who is from New Orleans, which actually ends up kind of piquing his interest. We have somebody who comes up with a save the date for their quote wedding. We have somebody who opens a box and like fake butterflies fly out. We have somebody who came up with like a suitcase full of bananas that were like chopped in different sizes and lengths, and then asked him what resonated with him more. That was one. There was somebody who was fake moaning in the limo before coming out and saying they were practicing their tennis grunts. It's funny. Maybe not for this context, but I see the humor. I see you. Somebody comes out in an umpire chair, like that stands up there in tennis, like love. I don't play tennis if you can't tell. Joey, though, thought it was a lifeguard seat. So that one didn't really get to him. But I will say there were lots of puns, of course. And I'm a girl. I mean, imagine. I love puns. But some of these it was just like pun after pun after pun. And some, I think, went over his head, but we still love him. I think overall, Joey is a golden retriever man, of a man. He really is, but I think it's endearing and I think it's cute. And who doesn't love a golden retriever guy, right? The way he looks at people when they're talking or while he's talking to them is... Oh my gosh, I get it. One girl even said it herself. She's like, wow, you were staring into my soul. And it looked like that from the angle of the television that I was at. It does. You just want to like give him a treat, right? You just want to give him a treat. But I'll give you kind of the gist. There was a girl, Rachel, who's a nurse from Hawaii. And she's like actually Hawaiian and Joey is like not. Uh, but she seems really sweet and they kind of bond over that. Another girl, Lexi from Atlanta, who is a Canadian. There are lots of Canadians this season, I swear. I think I saw I need to go back and count, but there were more than usual. Lot of Canada representation this season, which we love. Ain't no thing with that. And so Lexi from Atlanta is someone to look out for. There is Maria, another Canadian. They blurred out the flag, which I thought was funny. From her promo, they spent some time on her. Usually means they'll be around for a while. She is a bit of a firecracker. Actually, Joey called her a, quote, firecracker with swagger. Joey, never say that again. But they seem to have a flirty little banter. So I think she'll be around for a while, although she's probably good villain material for the season. We'll see. He even says himself he's kind of scared of her, which I think men like that a little bit, but and they made out. So I think, you know what I mean? They like that, but will they end up together for good? I don't know. I don't think so. I think he's too much of a golden retriever man, that he probably needs more of a golden retriever gal, but with a little bit more of a bite. Let's go with a maybe? No, like a Pomeranian. Really pretty to look at, but can also be like, nah. Anyways, there is Erica, who is Dominican and Cuban. And she brought a speaker with her. They start dancing together. He liked that. He kept saying, like, I'll take dance lessons from you. So he said that probably 3 times throughout the episode. So I think that he's into her. And then we have 2 sisters. Yeah, 2 sisters who are coming on the same show to date the same man. There is Allison and Lauren. Allison is 26 and Lauren is 28. I mean, they're both gorgeous and they both look very similar. And they come on saying that they are going to try and they're not going to tell Joey for a little bit at least that they're sisters or that they're related. But then they proceed to have conversations back to back, and they both say like nearly the same thing of like, yeah, I have 2 brothers and a sister, and I live, and they said some neighborhood of Philly. I think Philly people are kind of like Texas people in that they have a lot of, my brain just turned off. Like they have a lot of pride. There we go. A lot of pride for their hometown. Like just constantly talk about it. And I'm saying that's just like us here in Texas, so don't worry. One of the sisters gets a kiss, the other does not. The younger sister, Allison, who they call Allie here and there, I guess. And she was also ends up being the first called, and then her older sister is the last to be called for a rose. So we will still have the sisters in the next episode. We had a gal named Caitlin from Santa Fe who looked very Santa Fe, like a very eclectic outfit, and she's a chemist, and she makes it to all of the people I've mentioned before have made it to the second episode. Most people did that they spent time on, like either with their backstory or just on their conversation or whatever. The girl who got the first kiss, her name is Jess. Now, she will be the villain. She kind of already is. So she was the first one to kiss Joey. And she then proceeds to go immediately back to all of the girls and announce to everyone that they just had a kiss. And it's like, I know I have the target on my back now, but she's like 23. She's a youngin'. She's one of the younger ones. And everyone's like, why'd you have to tell everybody about that? So we know there's going to be something there. And she totally thinks that she's going to get the first impression rose. So we know we're set up for some good TV with her, So she'll definitely stick around for some good TV and some drama that we expect and we need. But she's a piece of work, I'll tell you what. We have Jen, who I think is also going to be a front runner. She came riding in on a go-kart. Wasn't clear what it was from the start. I thought it was like a bumper car, but I think it's a go-kart. And they have a kiss too. Joey did have fun. And I mean, I would too. So I can't blame the guy, right? And then there is a girl, Daisy, who I think is another big front runner. If not maybe even the winner. I don't know. She is one of the few blondes, actually. And she grew up on a Christmas tree farm. And I think in Minnesota, they just gave her a solid amount of screen time from her backstory to her time with Joey. She lost a significant amount of her hearing, and she ended up getting an implant. And this is her first time dating since getting that. She's a teacher. And I did pick up that she was like one of the few, at least, that was recorded where Joey complimented her first, when she came out of the limo. That's what sent my little spidey senses tingling. But they could either, the producers do this. They either set them up to be the winners, I feel like, in the beginning, or set them up to be maybe like the next Bachelorette contender. And then another, I guess, character of note is Leia. So there was one girl that Joey had already met, and it was when he was announced as the next Bachelor. And she's also from Hawaii. And they gave her a card back when he was announced months and months ago, and said that she couldn't open it until she was at the mansion. So, the girl's like, oh, they already know her. Like, she's going to win. Not really win, but you know what I'm saying. They're not loving that, right? And turns out that the card says that she has the power to steal a one-on-one date from somebody anytime before the hometowns, which is like a huge deal, right? Like, it's all about time here. I mean, we're already working with 2-3 weeks of getting to know each other and then engaged. So timeline's already a bit shortened, right? That's important, but I can't decide if this was so sweet or manipulative. I can't decide, but she started crying and was just torn up about it and said she didn't want to play God, which and didn't want to steal from somebody else or put somebody else to detriment. She either is for Joey or she's not. So she goes back and tells Joey, and he loves that she's saying this because it shows she's really, quote, there for the right reasons, of course. And then she proceeds to go tell all of the girls, and they're like, what the? And then she throws it in the fire and burns it. So, but that leads her to end up getting the first impression rose for doing that. I bet the producers were a little peeved that monster plan was foiled by her throwing it into the fire, because it would have been really interesting to see for us, right? It's a little bit of a Love Island-y kind of games element, but they're already, like, none of these relationships are really working out. So I guess you might as well make it a little juicier. I came across an article from The Hustle, which is HubSpot kind of news and stuff, that only 4 and now 3 couples are still together that have made it since the end. So that's sad. Bachelor in Paradise apparently has more than that, I'm pretty sure, that are still together of couples. But the article also talked about and studied based on the data of previous contestants across all of the last seasons this is the Bachelorette in particular. So the men have these jobs of what typically will lead you to either be cast on The Bachelor or to win the show. So the most common jobs or industries that we see is sales by far. Apparently it's at 16% of all contestants work in some form of sales. And I'm in advertising and digital media, and as we all say, we're all in sales, right? So it's a little broad, but I guess they're talking about like pharmaceutical sales, software sales, all that kind of shit. Followed by banking and finance. So we got the finance bros. Then followed by athlete, real estate, and then entrepreneur, biz owner, law. Those are the top 6 jobs. The bottom 6 that they've had: farmer, motivational speaker, CEO, consultant, who knows what a consultant is, computer programmer, and then entertainment. They took this data and then compared it to just the average to the United States as a whole and what was over and underrepresented on The Bachelorette. What's highly overrepresented by 25% is arts, design, entertainment, sports, and media category. They put that all as one category, though. Arts, design, entertainment, sports, and media. That kind of makes sense, right? It's like what we talk about here. followed by sales and related occupations, 17% overrepresented. And the most underrepresented is office and administrative support and transportation and material moving occupations. Kind of interesting, right? The ones in terms of those that win is athlete. And athlete is also one of the most overrepresented. So, I mean, yeah, we love a former athlete. They're usually all former, but I don't know, maybe some of them. Yeah, athlete, sales. There have been 3 winners in sales, followed by 2 in real estate, 2 in medicine and healthcare, 2 in construction. And those least likely to win are in law, marketing, and CEOs. That is what we got today for you. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll be covering The Bachelor this season, but it will not be the full episode, so don't worry if you're not a Bachelor fan, if you don't watch that. I'm still going to be talking all about pop culture, and there's a lot that goes on, so there's a lot more to talk about. So do not fear. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, please, please, please share with a friend, share with family. It's how I can keep it going, keep it rocking and rolling each week for you. And follow at Easily Entertained Pod on Instagram, and on TikTok, you can find me at Maddy is Easily Entertained. Stay safe and stay sane, homies. Love you. Till next week. Bye.